And we got a curve video today. And what do the bearded dragons need?
They need something to eat, and they need somewhere to stay, and they need light up like the sun.
Hey guys, we're back with another video, and this is a 2021 bearded dragon curve video. So I'm about to give you everything up to date of this year, everything that I do and everything that should be recommended for bearded dragons. And we're going to start off with the enclosure. The enclosure, as you can see, needs to be 4x2x2. It needs to be 4x2x2 at 120 gallons. So we got a Zula's tank and we have E-Ray's tank. We have Naga's tank. And also right now I am building a tank for some tortoises. So we got Naga, we got Azula, and then we have E-Ray. You need a 4x2x2 tank, 120 gallons. Also, you need a hide on the cool side and a hide on the hot side. That's something I highly recommend. Also, a lot of people, they try to argue about bearded, people argue about bearded dragons not being able to, they don't use climbing things, and they actually do. Bearded dragons climb a lot. As you can see, my boy E-Ray up here is climbing. And so he's climbing right now, and he loves to get up on the vines and hang out. So like I said, bearded dragons love to climb, and you should provide them with something to climb. Now, we're still speaking about the enclosure, the terrarium. I recommend either you use bioactive substrate, and with this bioactive substrate, you will have springtails, you will have isopods, and you will have, those are isopods right there. Springtails, isopods, and you can actually throw in mealworms and superworms if you want to also. A lot of people throw in dubia roaches, but I don't want to put that in my enclosure. And you'll provide leaves, dead leaves, wood, and things like that. So with the bioactive substrate, those isopods and springtails will eat the poop, and you will not have to pick up poop. That's a good thing, and that's a plus. You know what I'm saying? So we'll go to the lights, and we'll talk about the basking bulb over to the right, the UVB in the middle, and then I have an LED on the left side of two of my bioactive tanks. I have the LED full spectrum light for my plants. So when my bearded dragons are young, very young, all the way up to about 9 months, I put a coil UVB on the cool side, I put a UVB in the middle, and I also use a mercury basking bulb with UVB on the right. You might think that's too much, but it's not. As you can see, Naga is not in her tank right now. She is outside under the shade, getting sun and shade right now. So, with the other substrate, like I tell you, you can use towel. This is towel. This is a porcelain towel. You can use porcelain or ceramic. Do not use self-adhesive towel. Please don't do that, because the heat can get them fumes going, and it'd be poisonous to your dragon. I got a live plant over here just for fun, but I do recommend towel, ceramic towel, or either a bioactive substrate when you're dealing with your bearded dragon. Also, you want a water bowl. This water bowl right here is on the hot side for one reason. I don't want Azula getting in the water and then getting into the sand. You have a food bowl and a water bowl. The recommendation for a water bowl, you want on your cool side, not on your basking side, your cool side. So water on the cool side is fine. If your humidity is high, cut on a ceiling fan or a fan and point it towards your tank. If you have great air circulation, you can have high humidity. That is not a fluke, that is not a myth, that is truth. I do it, genetically modified dragons do it, and fairy tale dragons do it. Also, with my tanks, I do a thermostat. It's by Zilla. As you can see, once it passed 90.7 degrees on the cool side, my lights, my basking goes out. Now, once it cools down below that, basking will pop back up. But in the summertime here in Texas, in the DFW, it gets pretty hot. And honestly, man, midsummer, I don't even need that basking light. So we're all good. The UVB should be 10.0. 10.0 linear bulb. I recommend it covers at least 75% of your enclosure. I recommend 75% that it covers your enclosure. That's why I have UVB inside of my basking bulb. Boom, and then I have full spectrum on the cool side. Now that we talked about substrate, we talked about decor, and we've talked about the lights, let's talk about feeding. Also, before we get to feeding, I'm gonna talk about bathing. A lot of people overbathe their bearded dragons, and I only bathe my bearded dragons once a month. If they go outside and get real dirty in the backyard, I might bathe them then, but other than that, I only bathe my dragons once a month. And with that being said, it works great because honestly, bearded dragons are a desert species, a woodland species. In Australia, they have a rainy season. And honestly, they don't get into water very much. That's just the honest truth. So I don't see why people bathe them so much. Now let's go to feeders. Feeders, the ones that I use the most are dubia roaches, superworms, and mealworms, and black soldier fly larvae. That's my 4 top ones I use. I do bring in wax worms and other worms and things of that nature, but those are my top 4. Dubia, supers, mealworm, and black soldier fly larvae. Those are all staples for me. Oh, mealworms are not staples for me. I do them 2 to 3 times a week. But those 4 feeders are great. You can do hornworms for a treat, and you can look into the other feeders, crickets and such. But I'm not gonna discuss that right here and right now. If you have a question, hit me up. Now also, with feeding, we do feed, our main green is collard greens. I have a garden in the back. We do collard greens. We do mustard greens, turnip greens. We do butter squash, yellow squash, and also cilantro and asparagus. It's a few other things I feed, and from top with vegetables and greens. But with fruit such as bananas, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, things like that, that's occasionally. You might want to do that once to 2 to 3 weeks. I don't do that every day, and I do not do it every week because it contains a lot of sugar. Bell peppers, red, orange, green, yellow. Bell peppers are great. Carrots are great. So we've covered the feeders. We covered the greens, and we covered the substrate. We covered bass and things of that nature. Also, if your dragons aren't eating greens, go ahead and get them some bee pollen. That bee pollen does work. It helps the dragons smell that bee pollen and smash out those greens. And then with that said, if you have more than 2 dragons, I advise you to make you a colony of dubia roaches. Yesterday I fed off some jumbos and a lot of males yesterday out of this colony. I think I fed over 20 something males and maybe 15 females, jumbos. I left the young ones in there, and it's a lot of babies, so hopefully by midsummer, you know what I'm saying, I'll be able to feed out of this every day. But that's it. That's pretty much it, man. You gotta have a 4x2x2, 120 gallon enclosure, and then you need a couple of hods. Your substrate needs to be tile or bioactive. I recommend nothing else, tile or bioactive. And then your water bowl can be on the cool side. If you have high humidity, you can use a fan or a ceiling fan to circulate that air, and you will be fine. I think that's the main things that I covered. UVB, lights, and that's the top 3, honestly. And I will be posting more videos to come, so y'all stay tuned. Make sure you thrash the like, pound and subscribe, and I'm finna go get Naga from outside, bring her back in, and rotate Azula outside at this moment. But that's the main 3 to me, is the place of the dragon, where it's gonna stay, what are you gonna feed it, and then the substrate and lights. So the substrate and lights kind of go with the place to stay. So you need good lighting and you need a good substrate for your bearded dragon to thrive. Be sure to thrash the like, pound and subscribe, and I love you guys, and I hope you stayed to the end. If you stayed to the end, go ahead and comment Thunder up down in the comments, and next giveaway I will remember you. I'm Audi 5000.